These were actually the pants that I'd planned on wearing on the cruise, but never got to. And I put them on this morning, and I reached in the pocket. There's a fortune, and it says, "Life's a beach, enjoy the waves."
Come on. Really? It is Sunday, December 11th, 2022, and on this week's edition of Sunday Sofa Time, we're gonna be talking about actual footage of a guy who fell off a cruise ship. Well, here we are. It's December 11th. It's getting so close to Christmas time. And if you're looking at me right now thinking,
wow, Morgan has really upped his clothes budget for Sunday Sofa Time,
you're gonna be disappointed next week because I'm gonna be back to wearing a t-shirt. This is not going to become a regular thing. I just got out of the shower and I'm going to my tennis team's Christmas party tonight. So I didn't wanna get out of the shower, put on a t-shirt, film Sofa Time, and then change again. So you get fancy looking Morgan tonight. Let me know what you think about this shirt in the comments below. And I don't know where to begin with this with this guy on the Carnival Valor. I think as a lot of you know, I'm one of probably the most well-known experts for people falling off of cruise ships on the internet. A video I posted a couple years ago called "Man Falls Off Cruise Ship" has now been seen by almost 500,000 people. In this video, I don't actually show anybody falling off a cruise ship, which makes a lot of people mad in the comments. But what I do in this video is show you that it's basically next to impossible to accidentally fall off of a cruise ship. Nobody falls off of a cruise ship unless they're already doing something really stupid or irresponsible in advance. Most of the people who say they fell off a cruise ship are either doing, like I said, something really dumb, or they jump off of a cruise ship and then later say they fell, or they actually get thrown off of cruise ships, which is a crazy way to spice up your vacation, isn't it? Hey, how was you guys' cruise? Oh, it was really eventful. We saw the musical Mamma Mia. We went to the steakhouse. Benny threw me overboard. Speaking of crazy things happening while you're traveling, please give me just a couple seconds to thank the sponsor of this video, me. I wrote a book called Getting Stitches on a Cruise Ship. It's filled with 10 true actual stories of crazy, fun, and not so fun things that have happened to me while traveling around the world, including actually having to get stitches while on a cruise ship. It came out last year as an ebook version, and now, since a couple weeks, it's available in paperback, and the sales have been more than I could ever imagine would be. So if you're interested in supporting what I do here on the Very Unofficial Travel Guides and maybe want to get yourself or somebody you know something for Christmas, then check out Getting Stitches on a Cruise Ship. It's available on Amazon now. All right, if you watch any sort of videos about cruising on the internet, I'm pretty sure that you have heard about this guy already, and the whole world kind of knows who he is now, which I kind of think is unfortunate because, you know, after I watched the video of this guy, I just kind of thought, how do they say in the South? Bless his heart. We're gonna be checking out this interview that he did on Good Morning America. It's all over the internet for you to find out. So it's James Michael Grimes. He's 28 years old, describes himself as an average guy who likes hunting, fishing, and being outdoors. Let's take a little look at some clips of this interview and just get an idea of what James is like.
We were just hanging out, having a good time, watching some live music. That's pretty much it.
Yeah. Did you have a few drinks?
I had during the day.
This interviewer, I don't know her name. I'm sure if you watch the show regularly, she's probably somebody really famous, but I don't watch the show, so I don't know her name, but she's doing a really good job at being polite to him, but also kind of provoking him, and the way that she just sort of casually is like, so you had a few drinks. I kind of get a kick out of that. And watch his reaction here, watch him kind of slide through these questions because, well, I'm gonna let you watch more before I tell you my opinion about this, and I'm sure you're gonna be forming your own opinion as well.
But you hadn't had you weren't inebriated, had a ton of drinks.
No.
He's literally like, no ma'am, let's watch that again.
But you hadn't had you weren't inebriated, had a ton of drinks.
No.
How many drinks?
She continues going on about the drinks, and like I said, I think this is really good. This is probably the first time that somebody, well, first of all, I think it's the first time that somebody's fell shouldn't be saying that. The first time that somebody went overboard on a cruise ship that survived and actually went on television to talk about it, honestly, I don't think this is a very smart move. I don't think this is going to be good for this guy in the end. I hope that they offered him a bunch of money to come there, because otherwise, this is, you know what I mean? What do you think? If you were in his situation, would you want to let the whole world know who you are? I would not. So she continues to ask him about drinking.
How many drinks do you think you've had?
I couldn't really say.
I hope somebody has coached him, or I believe somebody has coached him before he went into this interview to be very non-specific and to not tell the truth. I'm sure that when he tells this to his buddies, he's probably telling a totally different story. That's just my assumption. I don't know. I've never met this guy, but I think it's good that he's being vague about it, because it saves him just a little bit of pride in a way.
James Michael told his sister he was going to the bathroom. What happened next is still unclear.
Do you remember leaving and going to find the bathroom?
No.
Do you remember falling off the boat?
No.
So you don't know how it happened?
No, ma'am. I came to regain consciousness. I was in the water with no boat in sight.
Can you imagine? I'm just gonna play like amateur detective here, and this is purely my opinion. He was with his family. He said he'd had a couple of drinks. He had just won a free drink. I think we can assume he had been drinking. And he said he had to go to the bathroom, and the next thing he can remember is he was in the water, which I think is like just a horrible thing to picture. But what if, seriously everybody, what if he went outside and was trying to pee like over the edge, and that's why he sort of maybe climbed up on the railing? That could be what happened. If he likes to go hunting and fishing and be outdoors, I'm sure he's peed off a boat before. I mean, honestly, I've peed off a lot of boats before. Never off of a... Did I pee off of a cruise ship? I've never peed off of a cruise ship. Not Morgan approved. So somehow he sort of blacks out or whatever while he's close to the edge of the ship, falls into the water, and wakes up, and it's black and he can see no ship. Horrifying.
You, for a while, were passed out in the water.
Yes, ma'am. I can't float myself, even when I'm trying to. So there had to be, the Lord was with me when I was out there, because something was holding me up the whole time while I was passed out.
How can that be? Either he's telling, the truth, that somehow in his inebriated or semi-conscious state, his body just knew to tread water and keep him afloat. I hope you're not disappointed in me, but I don't believe that the Lord was somehow with magical hands holding him above the water until he regained consciousness. I think another thing that we can speculate about is that he was conscious when he left the ship, that he did it on purpose for probably not very happy reasons, and it wasn't until the ship got really far away that he realized that maybe he changed his mind about doing what he was trying to do. And the version of the story that he's telling now is just sort of a safer version to not admit that he made a very drastic choice, let's say that. The Coast Guard was informed 12 hours basically after he went into the water. The Coast Guard was informed of a missing passenger. We see some interviews with the Coast Guard here, and they actually have like infrared footage of a person in the water. They're saying this is him. I mean, this could be anybody. This could be, you know what I mean? But the Coast Guard is saying this was him swimming in the water.
A stick come floating by. Looked like bamboo. So I started eating on it. And it actually, I'm not going to say it tasted good, but it gave some type of flavor in my mouth other than salt water.
So he started chewing on a stick, and that helped somehow. So hey, survival tip for you here on the Very Unofficial Travel Guides. If you're ever stuck in the middle of the ocean and there's nothing in sight, chew on a stick. I guess that helps. So eventually the Coast Guard finds him out in the middle of the ocean, which is miraculous and of course very, very lucky, and probably also going to be extremely expensive for this kid's family.
And he told me to hold on to this life vest, and I was just thinking, thank you. You're like a guardian angel coming down for me.
His rescuers believe he was seconds away from not making it.
I swam as fast as I could.
Okay, let me just stop right here, because if I ever am in this situation, I hope it's this guy who comes to save me. Richard Clark Hoof.
These were actually the pants that I'd planned on wearing on the cruise, but never got to. And I put them on this morning, and I reached in the pocket. There's a fortune, and it says, "Life's a beach, enjoy the waves."
Come on. Really? I'm sorry, but I'm not buying that. I think some writer, somebody who's working with this kid decided this would be a good idea to like a good little hook into the story. And so they said, here, I'm gonna give you this, say you found it in your pocket. Sorry, I'm not buying that. So after all this traumatic experience, who knows what really happened? I think he's probably the only person who really knows what happened. And from the way it sounds, he even doesn't really know everything that happened. But so she asked him if he would go on a cruise again, and his answer is interesting.
Do you think you'll go on a cruise ship again?
Yeah, I will.
Really?
Yeah, I ain't gonna let it discourage me. I might not get within 10 foot of the rails, but I'll definitely
How about
be
not
open to
drinking
going
so
on another
much?
cruise, because I really didn't get to go on this one.
True. He fell off on the first day, so I mean, geez, this poor guy. So what do you all think of this? I'm just saying it again. Nobody accidentally falls off of a ship unless they're already doing something really stupid or irresponsible, or they didn't fall off at all. They either jumped or were thrown. And to tell you the truth, I could imagine that this guy probably is going to be banned from cruising, at least on Carnival, because this is not bringing any good press to Carnival or the cruise industry altogether. And I mean, this interview has already been seen by over 1 million people. And can you imagine being on a cruise ship and then running into this guy? I would not want him on my cruise ship if I was a cruise company. Not good press, not the kind of celebrity you want people taking pictures with. As always, I'm interested in hearing what you think of all this in the comments below. Try to be polite. We don't know if James might be also watching these videos. If you are watching this, James, I'm glad you're okay. Your story is definitely very interesting. And if you were hearing some sort of negative voices in your head or having some not so nice feelings about yourself or about life in general before you found yourself in the water on that day, I hope that you can take the opportunity now to find somebody to talk to about that to help you change your perspective. And speaking of changing perspectives, now comes the time on Sunday Sofa Time where I comment on your comments live on air. In last week's Sunday Sofa Time, I did a Q&A where I took your comments from Facebook and Instagram and YouTube, and I just did a whole video of answering, I think I did over 20 questions, talked about the whole dramatic thumbnail trend on YouTube. I talked about how I book cruises, things like that. These comments are on that video. The first one is a really funny creative one here from Heiko Homburg. Heiko writes, "Hello, this is Heiko from the future. I don't mean the near future, but the future about 40 years after your video was shot. I just found a book in the attic by a once very well-known writer of cruise ship books. It is one of the few copies printed without page numbers. I auctioned it off on eBay and got a fortune for it. I am donating this fortune to the author so that he eventually can afford a business class flight to Australia." Back to the present. Sorry, Morgan, that you have to wait another 40 years from now until you can fly to the Southern Hemisphere. To wait such a long time, I would call endurance. That put a big smile on my face, Heiko. I'm very, very happy that you show up in the comments sometimes to write things like that. Heiko was talking about when my paperback book first came out. Sorry to be talking about my book again, but hey, it's the only advertising I do for this product. The very first, the first printing of it basically was kind of poorly formatted. Like the text is really small and there's all this space here and here and there are no page numbers. So I had to redo that, but a handful of people, I think probably around 100 maybe, got a first version of the book with no page numbers. So that's what Heiko's talking about here. And this is just a funny scenario. And in 40 years though, I'm gonna be almost 90 years old, Heiko, and can we do it in 10 years? Next comment is from Val's Life. Val writes, "Morgan, great last question answered." The last question was about the whole thumbnail drama and the YouTube algorithm and things like that. "I watch your videos ever since I started cruising. My favorite one was you showing us how easy it is to fall off a cruise ship. Very fitting for this video. I still go back and watch it. Keep doing what you do, Val." Thanks for your comment, Val. Yes, a lot of people have seen that video about me trying to fall off a cruise ship Spoiler alert, it's not easy, and it makes me happy to know that it also puts a smile on your face too. Final comment is from Margaret L. It has to do with dramatic thumbnails. Margaret, not dramatic. Dramatic Margaret writes, "Thanks for answering my question. I understand the need to engage in sensationalism to keep the channel up and relevant. I guess it's just one of those things I wish wasn't necessary." You and me both, Margaret. You and me both. I appreciate that you try to keep things on the classier, more truthful side at least. As for writing a second book, how about more stories about the places you lived and worked around the world? Thanks for coming back again, Margaret. Margaret was the one who wrote the original question, sort of, in a way, I don't want to say complaining, but being critical about the way the trend is going with we creators having to become more and more dramatic in order to get the views, in order to convince YouTube to push our videos out to people's feeds. So thanks for coming back again to let me know you saw it and that we kind of get each other. And yeah, a second book about, if I were to do a second book, it would have to be more stories about other things other than travel, because like I've said before, the best or the worst stories about things that have happened to me like while traveling, they're already in this book. But yeah, that might be a good idea. All right, everybody, thanks for spending this part of your Sunday with me, or whatever day it is you're watching this. I'm on my way to a Christmas party, and I hope you have a great weekend doing whatever it is you're gonna do. See you soon.